Alzheimer's Association releasing new facts and figures in South Dakota for 2024.
And those statistics are very revealing as to how this disease is affecting the state and what more needs to be done to fight it. Parker Brown in studio with our top story tonight. Hello, Parker.
Good evening, Brian and Andrea. This new report shows 6.9 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease. That includes 16,500 South Dakotans and counting. The stats put the challenges of caregivers into numbers.
Last year, an estimated 27,000 caregivers put in an estimated 34 million hours of unpaid care in South Dakota alone.
This disease is unique in that the caregiver really does often take the brunt. We're talking about a disease that can last anywhere from 2 to 20 years. And for a lot of that, the person living with the disease becomes more dependent on their care partner, their caregiver.
The issues caregivers face are a collection of the cost, added stress, care navigation, and finding a time to take a break. They surveyed caregivers and found that the issues they face go even deeper.
It's not uncommon for people when they are actively caregiving to ignore their own health. In fact, sometimes when their loved one passes away from the disease, they suddenly are bombarded with a lot of health issues, a can they've continued to kick down the road.
Carmen McGee's husband, Fred, was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease in 2019. McGee says that their journey with the disease may look different than others. She's made reminder cue cards to help Fred remember his glasses, his pills, or his hearing aids. She also feeds him, helps him in the shower, and more. The challenges are not just physical, but also emotional.
What I truly miss the most is my partner, is my guy sitting on the couch and visiting and talking about our days, because Fred's pretty nonverbal. There's glimpses, there's times, but that's what I truly need the most.
The yearly statistics come at an important time because their annual trip to Washington, D.C. is just around the corner, and they plan to advocate not only for more research funding, but for ways to help the needs of caregivers. McGee continues to advocate for more support for families from rural areas battling this disease.
What do we have today? Boots on the ground, help when someone is in crisis. What can we do for people right now? We need more respite care for caregivers.
The Alzheimer's Impact Movement Advocacy Forum trip to Washington, D.C. will take place April 7th through the 9th. The South Dakota chapter of the Alzheimer's Association will be meeting with all 3 of South Dakota's members of Congress. While Fred McGee is unable to make the trip, Carmen will be attending and presenting a video made by her son. You can find a link to the video on this story at dakotanewsnow.com.